All right, guys, so he's here, guys. Make some noise for Santino Marella. There he is.
Hey. How's it going? Hi. Hello. Hey, guys. Oh, on stage here.
Come on, guys, get louder. Santino Marella.
Hey, got a cobra.
Who wants one? Who wants a cobra? Free cobra.
There you go.
You guys can also purchase these. You guys can also purchase these guys right at the end of the show. We have his cobras right here, exclusive, right here. Right, guys. So welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. Let me adjust this here. There we go. Sorry, I was a little late. The Toronto traffic never fails.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Now I gotta say now to start off now. What got you into wrestling?
Wrestling? Well, my older brother. When I was a kid, we watched wrestling on Saturdays. And there was, Jimmy Snuka was the first guy that I was really attracted to in terms of like, this guy is like a superhero and the muscles and the look and everything, the leopard skin. And of course, Hulk Hogan came along and we watched his rise through the ranks, and then he was going to beat the Iron Sheik and, get revenge for Bob Backlund. And he did, man. It was incredible. It was like watching a real life superhero in real time, watching him just beat the bad guy, It was incredible, man. And jumping up and down in the living room, never forget the feeling of my dad, my brother, even my sister, and my mom. And wrestling was the one thing that made us all come to the living room together. Everyone had their own interests, but it was one thing we could all share as a family. So just great memories, but you never think you're gonna do it, right? It's kind of something that's almost unattainable. It's almost like you wouldn't even dare to become that. It's crazy. And then all of a sudden, I become a pretty good grappler. I knew I was called towards martial arts. I felt this calling in Bruce Lee, and my mother happened to put me in judo because we didn't know the difference. And that kind of became my life. I was a judo athlete right through elementary school, high school, university, and I represented Canada, Ontario, and Canada. And thank you. And then because of my grappling proficiency, I also wrestled in high school. And I won like Rob said and all that stuff. And I ended up wrestling for Concordia University in Montreal. The reason I went to Montreal was because that's where the national team trained for judo. So when I registered for university, the only tuition I actually paid was for Montreal. So all the other universities I applied to, I never paid the enrollment fee because I didn't want to go there. So I kind of, had no choice. I had to go to Montreal. That was the only school I got in. And my first day in Montreal, there's a guy I meet, and his father is Don Koloff. And if anybody knows, the Battle Arts Arena is the Don Koloff Arena.
Yep.
And I remember him telling me his dad had a school, and I'm like, oh my God, I just found my destiny. I think I'm going to become a wrestler because what was seemingly unattainable with regards to finding that way in, I just found it. So all you have to do now is dedicate yourself and have the ability, and I believed in my natural ability and my work ethic. And the fact that I found that connection, I knew that was the direction my life was going to go. And I was still in university. And I went to teachers college after to have something to fall back on, but my heart was 100% into becoming a wrestler at that point.
Now let's talk about Boris Alexev, your character. OVW days, you actually won the OVW television championship as well. Let's talk about that right there.
Yeah, that was actually my can I extend this a little bit?
Yeah, of course.
That was there. I can get a little better posture. There we go. Posture is very important. So when I started training in wrestling, like 2002, and I had a match in 99. It was the day Owen Hart passed away, actually. So it's pretty easy to remember it. But I was untrained. And when I started training, I had my first match in 03 in Ontario. I think it was Orangeville for Ring Wars. And shout out to Chris Drury, And, after, this is pre-internet, right? So I realized, I had 6 matches in the Indies, and I'm like, no one's even seeing these. Like, these are just a newspaper article. It's not. So I was Johnny Giobosco. That was my first name in Ontario. And it was a funny story because when my dad met my mom in Toronto, For some reason, he lied to her and said his name was John Giobosco for like a month. She didn't even know my dad's real name. I don't know. He was, college in Ossington guy trying to hide his identity. So I just thought it was a hilarious story. So my first wrestling match in '99, they're like, "What's your name?" And I just, for my dad, I said John Giobosco. So that was my first name. It wasn't really a character or anything. But quickly I realized there's not much. I started late because of my judo career, and I was already a dad and everything. So I started. I think I was 29. I had my first match, 29, and I realized I got to get out of here if I want to make something happen quick. So the only kind of connection we had at the time, he goes by many names. We call him Big George. He was Alexander the Great. He wrestled for not Hustle. Oh gosh, a Japanese company. But he was Jason Legend. He had the goalie mask and the chainsaw. And anyway, he was wrestling at Battle Arts, the original Battle Arts. So he took an MMA fight. And he was also, he was a pro wrestler that did an MMA fight. And the Japanese people, they saw a lot of potential. They said, but you need to go train with this guy, Yuki Ishikawa, in Saitama, Japan. And so he trained there for like a year or two. So when I got the green light to go and do this, that was kind of the only connection we had at the time. Was just Big George was training in Japan. So I asked for the introduction, and I packed up my bags and I moved to Japan. Really, when I look back, I laugh because I had no idea. I booked a hostel for like a week. I had my hockey bags of just, clothing and knocked on the door and said, I paid like a member, I signed up and just had to train and kind of fight my way through the dojo and until I could, beat everybody in the whole gym. And then I got an opportunity to do a pro wrestling match. So they knew I was there for pro wrestling, but the way it works there, you kind of have to earn your spot by fighting for real. And took me a few weeks to get my cardio up, because Toronto was a, good party town back then, so I wasn't training the way I should. But I knew once I left Toronto, and the reason I have to leave Toronto, and sometimes you have to do this, you have to leave your comfort zone, really, the actual comfort zone too. There used to be a nightclub called the Comfort Zone. Yeah.
Comfort zone.
Yeah. But sometimes, you have your friends and you have your bad habits and you kind of hang out too much and not that they're bad influences, it's just the way we grew up, hanging out. But hanging out doesn't help you accomplish your goals. So you have to leave. You have to be sometimes in isolation where there's no negative, there are no negative influences. And, all you have is your training and your plan and your personal growth. I train every day, twice a day. Wow. And it's pretty lonely, I'm not going to lie. I had my little apartment. Probably not much bigger than a stage, maybe a little bigger, and that's it. Woke up every morning, trained, came home, had lunch, rested a little bit, went back, trained, and I became in really good shape. But I was 30 years old. I was already kind of like, the clock was ticking. I had to make stuff happen quick. And I had really good progress that year. I was doing some extra work and some commercials, and I was getting, in the beginning, matches were every 2 months. I'm like, man, it's taking forever. Like 4 months go by, you have like 2 matches. And I only had a tourist visa. So I had to come home, leave the country, go back in and refresh that 3-month tourist visa. But after a couple of those, we were trying to get a work visa. And I was getting all the paperwork. And every time I had to go down to the immigration office, it was like a huge mission, like hours subway, hour walking, speaking with someone and not really getting the, clear answers on what I needed to do. Sometimes the Japanese language is open for interpretation a little bit. And I take the documents back to the gym and show Mr. Ishikawa, and he'd kind of be like, I think they need this, and I think they need that. I'd have to gather documents, go back again, and it was a long process.
A mission for sure.
What's that?
It was a mission.
It was a mission. And unfortunately, by doing all that, my tourist visa was about to expire. Like the 3-month visa, I was about to overstay one of them. And they're like, oh man, you're going to be banned for 5 years. because it's a serious offense, you know. And I'm like, what? I said, I have an apartment, I have a job, I have a scooter, I have a life here. And one guy told me, he said, if you keep a low profile and don't get in trouble, and if you leave after December 1st, the law is changing for the first time in 100 years, and you'll only be banned for 1 year. And I was like, you know, thanks, I guess. And I did that, and I was banned. I was banned from Japan. I had to leave Japan. It was horrible. It was like a funeral. I had to go back and tell them, I gotta go. And everyone's like, what the heck? Like, it's just starting to get a lot of interest with other companies and opportunities. And we had to come back home. So now I was still 30, and I'm like, what the heck am I gonna do now? So I had to quickly reformulate a game plan, and I heard about this place called OVW.
OVW, yeah.
And I remember I called them, and I was like, can I audition for your company? And not even knowing exactly what it was. And it was a school. And there's a beginner's class, an intermediate class, and an advanced class. And the advanced class was also the WWE developmental class. So I said, okay, that's what I'll do. I'm going to work my way through the ranks, get to the advanced class, and then I'll be amongst the WWE developmental talent. And I think out of 30 students at the time, maybe 26 were developmental. There's 4 people that were just in the advanced class. So I said, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And I went down there again, you know, packed my bags, this time I drove down. I had a car, which was a lot nicer. In Japan, I didn't have a car, but I had my scooter. And I went to the beginner's class, and they quickly knew I wasn't, you know, I think 3 weeks I was kind of in the intermediate class. And that was where I met Rip Rogers. And that was like a gift from God. You know, that man, he is an incredible coach. And he saw that I had some potential, and I had a good work ethic, and I was driven. And he, you know, made sure I was getting it. And I would do private classes with him. And he's an interesting man, Rip Rogers. He has a little trouble kind of fitting into society normally. So he works a midnight shift at a gas station to minimize his interaction with other humans in the middle of a highway somewhere. But he would come right after, like 8 a.m. He finished work, and he'd meet us at the gym. And after our night shift, and we do private classes. Sometimes 2 of us, sometimes 4 of us. We paid our $20 each, and he made another $80, and we got like the best instruction ever. Just personalized, you know, fine details. And it really expedited because I didn't have time to waste. Now I'm 31 years old. I learned to lock up at 31. I had to run the ropes properly at 31 years old. And I'm, you know, 5'10", not like a, you know, big guy. And I did not have time to waste. So that's why I was training 3 times a day. Plus my daughter was home, and I was really wanted to get back, but I wanted to go back being successful, not just go back, you know, because it didn't work. So I definitely had a fire under my ass. Is that the expression?
Of course.
Yeah. And I think that's the expression. Maybe I made a new one. I don't know. But here's the thing. So Rip Rogers called me Boris one day. That was my nickname.
Okay, here we go.
He said, Boris, get in the ring. And I'm like, Boris? And he goes, yeah, you kind of look like Boris Zukov. And one of the other students was like, that's your nickname now. If coach calls you Boris, you're Boris. And I'm like, Boris? What the heck kind of name is that? For me, I'm an Italian background, right? And then all of a sudden I'm laying in bed, and I'm just thinking, I go, my coach was Don Koloff. And I don't think there's been a Boris Koloff. There's been Boris Zukov, there's been many Koloffs, and then Nikita Koloff and stuff like that.
Nikolai Koloff.
Volkov.
Volkov, sorry.
Yeah. But there hasn't been, I think, a Boris Koloff. So I called Don Koloff, and I asked for his permission to be a Koloff, because the real Don Koloff is actually a Bulgarian wrestling superstar. Like he was a Bulgarian immigrant that came here to Canada, actually, and he was discovered in Alberta. Just super strong guy. He became a pro wrestler. But back in Bulgaria, they don't know what pro wrestling is. They think it's professional amateur wrestling, which they do have as well. So he became a big grappling legend in Bulgaria. And my coach was like a huge fan of Don Koloff. So he became Don Koloff when he came to Canada and wrestled for Vince and Calgary and stuff like that. So so he had, the Koloff name. He gave me the blessing to be Boris Koloff. And serendipity is the word I use because I had gone to Japan and I had learned that battle art style, and then I get kicked out of Japan, and now I come to OVW, but because I just had that battle art style, I'm different from everybody else. Everybody's doing the exact same thing. Lock up, headlock, shoot 'em off, tackle, that kind of stuff, arm ringers and arm drags, and I'm doing something totally different. I'm doing leg kicks and takedowns and arm bars, and standing out and being different is like the name of the game. And if I had stayed in Japan, I was wrestling like everybody else there. So like I wasn't really, I was standing out because I was a foreigner and because I was a judo guy, but the way I was wrestling wasn't necessarily different than the people in Japan. So Paul Heyman, one practice was sitting up in the like the Phantom of the Opera, up in the rafters, and he was watching me train, and he's like, man, this guy's different, And he caught me in the parking lot, and I still remember it. He's like, hey, I've been watching you. I really like what you're doing. I think you might debut next week on OVW TV. Wow. And I'm just like, what? This is like my first ever identifiable, like, this is my break. Because everybody on OVW TV is signed to a developmental contract. And I was the only guy on OVW TV that was not signed to a developmental contract. Now, this is Paul Heyman's genius. So there was a very famous Olympic weightlifter back in the day. I forget his first name, but his last name was Alexiev. I think he was the first guy to do 500-pound clean and jerk. And Vince McMahon was a fan of this Russian Olympic weightlifter, Alexiev, Anatoly Alexiev, maybe? And so he said, we'll take off the Koloff and we'll put Boris Alexiev to have that a positive association with Vince. So when he hears about everything that's going on with this guy, Boris Alexiev, he'll go, oh, Alexiev, and he'll be interested, which was, smart. So that's how Boris Alexiev came about. He came from Boris Koloff. And then, Al Snow, again, so lucky. Al Snow has a jiu-jitsu background. Not Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but an actual Japanese jiu-jitsu. And judo and jiu-jitsu are like cousins. So he also used to corner guys in the early UFC. I think it was Dan Severn and some other guys. And Al Snow even did those work shoot style fights like battle arts where I came from. So he totally understood where I was coming from. He knew what I was trying to portray. And but he also is a very formally coached in professional wrestling, like WWE style, Memphis, that Southern US style. So we were trying to fuse the two and make a hybrid of that, Japanese pancrase kind of style with this WWE style. And I think we did a good job because I was getting a lot of attention, and that was the character that ultimately got me signed with the WWE was Boris Alexiev.
But did you ever wrestle with Boris in the WWE at all?
A dark match.
Dark match.
Yeah, I had a dark match. I wrestled Jamie Noble in a dark match as Boris Alexiev. Yeah, that's right.
Now everybody knows now him obviously for Santino Marella, WWE. Let's get into these stories now.
Yeah.
The Milan Miracle.
Yeah.
Your debut as Santino.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that right there. Everybody loves that. Give it up, guys, for that story right there. Like, everybody loves that. Let's talk about that right there.
Yeah, so the transition is like immediate. So I'm driving to Elizabethtown, Kentucky for an OVW live event, like one of the house shows we did. And I'm Boris Alexiev in the car. And I get a phone call from 203. That's the Stamford, Connecticut area code. And I pick it up, and it was Mike Bucci, who was in talent relations at the time. And we had met. I was actually renting a room in his house with Aaron Stevens and Shelly. Remember Shelly Martinez, the vampire girl? So it was a pretty interesting house.
Legendary.
And so he knew that my background was Italian because his background's Italian, and we talked about it and stuff. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Guys. Give it up for H2O.
Yeah. It's vodka.
Vodka, hey, shh.
It's water. So all of a sudden he said, hey, Boris, everyone called me Boris. So it's funny because for 2 years of my life, I lived in OVW. I lived in Kentucky for like 2 years and 2 weeks, and I became Boris like 3 weeks after I got there, and then I became Santino and left. So like, for 2 years I lived in a town, and in this town I was called Boris, and I've never been Boris anywhere else outside of Louisville, Kentucky, for 2 years. It was just when I think back, it's just funny to me that my identity in Louisville, Kentucky was not the identity I have now. I was Boris. All the neighborhood kids called me Boris, and it was funny. So he said, hey, your background's Italian, right? And I said, yeah. He said, can you speak Italian? I said, yeah, sure, of course. And so I used to work down in Adelaide and Sherbourne.
Right down the street.
And I'm from Mississauga. So I used to drive every day in the rush hour traffic for like a year. And I would have this Italian tape, tourist Italian tape, and I'd put it in the car, and I'd just listen to it, and it'd flip over and play it. Just I wanted to brush up my Italian. And that tape, when they called me, they said, can you speak Italian? I just said a couple lines from the tape, like tourist Italian, like, can I get a hotel room? Can I have the line I said to them was in Italian. I said, vorrei un mezzo chilo di formaggio, which means I would like to buy a half kilo of cheese. And they were on speakerphone, and I could hear them going, well, that sounds pretty good, I don't know. And they go, okay, you say something else? And I was like, I'd also like a glass of red wine, or something like that. And they go, okay, yeah, that's good. And they go, okay, you might fly out tomorrow to Italy. And I'm like, what? And my buddy, Big George, who had the connection in Japan, was sitting beside me at this time. He had come down to Louisville. And I'm looking at him like, oh my God, they're saying I might debut tomorrow on Raw. Like, what is happening, you know? So I flew out, this is Friday. I flew out Saturday, arrived on Sunday. And it was in the middle of a European tour, so everyone was not at the hotel yet. They were still doing a show somewhere else that night. So I walked around Milan. It was really the first time I've been to Italy. I kind of crossed the border once, but this is my first time walking around in Italy. And went to bed. Next morning, woke up, went to the bus with my bags, and there were some people on the bus that I knew, like Mickey James and Beth Phoenix, and I think Crime Time was there. So, I saw some people from OVW, and I literally walk in the door. So imagine that door there. I walk in, there's another door kind of on that wall, and the production meeting is coming out. And I had met some of the producers because some of the producers or agents would come to OVW, watch us perform, and write notes, and then they would write reports back to the office and see who was getting ready, who was improving, if somebody's not improving or getting worse, kind of like report cards. So Arn Anderson came out and he said, hey, you're having a good day, kid. You're winning the IC strap. And he walks away, and I'm like,
what, already?
I'm trying to think, is there any way I'm misinterpreting what he said? IC strap. That's Intercontinental title, right? And I'm looking around like, what's going on here? And then someone came and took me aside and said, yeah, Vince would like to meet with you. And I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. So I came in, and he put his stuff down, turned, gave me his undivided attention, made me feel at ease, at home, wanted to get to know me a little bit, just, before he gave me this great opportunity to make sure I'm not a jerk or something. And we chatted, and then he told me what's going to happen. And I still felt like I was kind of like fraudulent because my Italian wasn't where I kind of said it was, Because I was able to pronounce it okay, I think I was like misleading that I spoke more than I did, But we went over it. Is that Umaga shirt?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my boy right there. So we met with Umaga, and we went over the segment, and the rest is history. Until it happens, it didn't happen, right? So put me in my seat, and then when Vince's music hit, everybody rushed the barricade. I'm like, oh shit. I didn't rush the barricade, and I'm looking, oh my God, he's not gonna see me. I'm like 5 people back, and I'm like, there's no way he's gonna see me. There's no way he's gonna see me. And then all of a sudden, the people kind of filtered back to their seats. Then Umaga's music hit, and again, like, oh my God, again, I missed my shot. Now I'm not, because I had to be at the front of the barricade. I had to be at the front. because I have to wave and he's going to see me. There's no way Vince is going to see me. There's hundreds of people around the ring. He kind of knew where I'd be, but anyway, then when Vince finally said, does anybody here want to challenge? I got to the front this time. Third time I made it there. And I even had to, nudge my way in a little bit to somebody. And now I was in the front. And then he ended up seeing me and then he called me in. So from that point, that's all documented and you can watch the debut. But me getting to the front was a mission. I had to kind of nudge some people and get in there. Like, I didn't want to say, I'm supposed to be here. I didn't want to give it away. But it's funny because the people that were standing beside me, they had no idea. And when he's saying, come in the ring. So everyone knows it's a show and everyone knows it's produced. But for some reason, that particular segment really made people doubt, like, was that really a fan? Like, what is happening? And
we all believe it.
And the reason, I break it down to the moment. Because when he says you, I'm like, me? And then I look like, I think he's talking to you. Yeah. But that guy was a stranger. That guy was just a guy in the audience.
No, wait.
And the guy's like, no, he's talking to you. And so his reaction was 100% legitimate because he's just a civilian, right? And then I'm like, me? And then I looked at the other guy, I'm like, he's talking to me? And then they're both going, no, he's talking to you. So the confusion that I showed with regards to is it me kind of made it look authentic, like I was somebody in the audience. I think that's where, if I can narrow it down to a moment where we really kind of got people, I think it was there.
And then one of the best stories that in a long, long time. Can you guys agree? One of the best stories having a long, long time.
Yeah, and then we came in the ring and we obviously did it. And it was pretty historic, man. It was pretty crazy. I remember afterwards, I just went outside and I was on the balcony and Scott Armstrong was there. And I was just like, he looked at me like, pretty cool, huh? And I was like, holy smokes, what just happened? Like, pinch me, And when I was in university and I had my daughter, I had to, the 2000 Olympics was my life, and I had to pull the cord and realize I had to, support my family and the Olympics kind of got, the practicality of the Olympics kind of got phased out, and it always bothered me. And I told myself in 1998, I said, one day I'm going to win the Intercontinental Championship. And when I do, I'll let go of the Olympics. Because I finished competing in judo in 1998. And I started pro wrestling. And I said, one day, and in the ring, I'm looking at the title and I'm saying, you promised, man, you got to let it go. Even to this day, it chokes me up because it was my whole identity. It was just judo and just the Olympics. It's all I ever wanted to do. It's all I ever did. And I had to let it go, but something else maybe more impressive kind of came along because there's been a lot of Olympic gold medalists, but not that many Intercontinental champions. So yeah, I think it was a fair trade, I think.
Yeah. And now, guys, let's talk about you and Beth Phoenix. Like it's total two opposites, right? Total two opposites. And the way you guys just conjoined together, and that match, you and her versus Candice and Kofi. Winner takes all?
Oh,
remember that?
Mickey James.
Yes. What's Mickey James?
Mickey and Kofi, yeah.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah. So I had known Beth from OVW. Beth is like, she's like perfect. I like, honestly, as a coworker, she's amazing. As a mom, she's amazing. As an athlete, she's amazing. Like, she's an artist. She's a musician. She's gorgeous. She's jacked. She's intelligent. She's like everything. She's like perfect.
Edge won't take nothing.
Yeah, Edge. He got there first. That's the only reason. I'm just kidding. No, but I mean, like, seriously, she's amazing. I always joke around because my wife is like jacked and Polish too. So I'm like, I got my own Beth Phoenix. I don't need yours.
Yeah, we don't need you.
And so we were there, and she was, there's this peaks and valleys, right? Someone new comes along, they're popular, they're having like a peak, and someone new comes along, and you may be on the back burner a little bit. So she was kind of entering a little bit of a dip. I was gaining momentum as a bad guy, a big mouth bad guy, but she pitched the idea that we do this couple. And already when I was dating Maria earlier in my career, I was showing like insecurity and basically insecurity. So to have this big, strong alpha female with this kind of guy who's already insecure, I mean, the relationship dynamics Vince thought was hilarious. Excuse me. And he was right, it was. People really enjoyed seeing that insecure guy kind of trying to prove his, machismo to his girlfriend, who is like much more strong and mean. So and she's like super hardworking. She'd go home and think about things and show up with ideas. And it was actually one of the most fun times in terms of my career, because as we're kind of bouncing ideas off one another, we're laughing and like, oh, that's gonna be good. Let's do this, and we're like, oh, this is gonna be so good. And we do so many little funny things, kind of to pop ourselves, that the audience was, like when she'd flex, I'd bite her biceps and that kind of stuff. And at one point, I think I competed against her, and she started punching me, and I remember I got like a waist lock on her, and I was like, no more punches, no more punches. And it's just the little things that the cameras, it wasn't into a microphone, it was like the handheld camera was picking it up. So it was just really fun stuff. And then I remember the moment when we kind of, you give that look before you guys kiss, and the audience was like, whoa! It was fun. It was so fun. And it lasted a long time, yeah.
Gave us good memories, that's for sure.
And then, so it kind of culminated with me trying to prove male dominance to the point where I dressed up as a girl.
We'll get into that, Santino. Santino.
Yeah. And I jumped into the women's battle royal in Houston. And
yeah, we're going to get
she
into
won
that.
it. Santino won it, yeah.
And now let's talk about now as well as, okay, today's the Royal Rumble. Very special day. Guys, are you guys excited for the Royal Rumble tonight? Yeah! Now, obviously you stay up to par, you stay up to date with what's going on in wrestling. Now,
Really?
who is going to win the Royal Rumble tonight, men's? Predictions.
Oh, man. I don't know. I kind of wouldn't mind seeing John Cena do it just on
One time, yeah.
John Cena, yeah. On his way out, because it sets up something big for his last Mania. I think it's his last Mania.
Yeah.
I mean, there's guy, because Drew McIntyre, he's in it, right?
I believe so. This is probably by far one of the most stacked Rumbles in a long time. So there's a lot of people. Mysterio, perhaps one, right? Was a pick. Mysterio right there.
I'm a big fan of Drew McIntyre. I think he's awesome. CM Punk is wicked, man. Like I'm a fan of his, like not just a colleague, But I wouldn't mind seeing. Oh man, but Randy's in it too.
Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins.
Yeah, those guys are okay. But no, they're obviously, those guys have held it down for quite some time.
Yeah.
Those guys are superstars. I guess I'm biased towards guys from my generation. I'd like to see Randy do it. Randy's the man,
Randy for sure. But Cena hands down has to be one of the greatest to ever do it.
Yeah,
Man, hands down.
He's
the GOAT.
He is, man. He's a very special human being. Outside of wrestling too, like he's just brilliant, man. He's so smart. He's so disciplined. When he focuses on something, anything. Let's say he wanted to get into cinematography, and it was his new hobby. In 6 months, he'd know everything about every camera, famous cinematographers. He'd know everything about it. He just dives into things, and he's so intelligent, man. And anyway,
So you're going Cena. How about the women's? Ariana Grace? Hey, let's know.
I know that they haven't called her for it, but
you never know.
She had shoulder surgery at the end of last year, but she's cleared. She's having matches again, so I thought it'd be nice because she had some really good momentum right up until her shoulder surgery. She kind of hurt it here at the Scotiabank.
At the heat wave, yeah.
Yeah, she hurt it. It tore there, and it was torn a little bit before from boxing, but it tore there more. So she had surgery from that point on. I wanted her to. Yeah, I can't wait till she's in those types of matches.
For sure. Who do you think will win tonight? Maybe Charlotte? Perhaps I heard Becky might come back.
Ooh, Charlotte. I love Charlotte. Like, as a person, as a performer, and the contrast between the two. Like, she's the sweetest girl like ever, and then she gets in the ring and she's like that evil queen. She's amazing, and of course I love her dad to death too. So I'm gonna Charlotte. I want Charlotte to win.
There you go. Now, as we're talking, guys, we're going to go down now the path of the Rumble for you, because your defining moments, a lot come from the Rumble. I'm not going to talk about the quickest elimination, which we can still talk about when Kane eliminated you. Like, how did that come about? Did they talk to you like you're going to get eliminated less than what, 2-3 seconds? Was it?
No. So at that point, I was a comedic heel, and the comedic heels they become untouchable, so to speak, with regards to you can lose every day. And I remember Ron Simmons. I didn't mind losing because it's a show, right?
Yeah, of course.
He said, but he didn't know where my mind was at, so he just took me aside one time and said, "Look, you could lose every match for years and years and years, and then one day you win one match at the right time, you're the world heavyweight champion. So don't worry about it." And I was like, "Well, thank you. I wasn't really worrying about it, but I always remember those words, right?" So. At the time, we were going through the meeting, and I think it was Dean Malenko, and he's like, "You're going to come to the ring, and, it's going to be a quick one. Sorry to break the news." And I said, "No problem at all." And I said, "Can we try and break the record?" And he's like, "Let me get back. I have to clear that by the boss." And I said, "Yep, no problem." And then later on, about half an hour after the meeting, he came up to me and goes, "Yep, we're good to try and break it. But you have to legitimately break it. It's you have to execute it flawlessly." I said, "Okay, I'm sliding in, popping up, doing this." And Kane had to be there at the exact time. Of course, Kane was there. I wasn't doubting the fact that he's going to be there. I was just hoping I didn't trip or something, or
What was the record before that? The quickest?
It was 2 seconds or something.
Wow.
But when you look at it, it was longer than 2 seconds. They didn't time it right or something,
Yeah.
but it was Warlord. And we broke it, and they tried to break it now 3 times. They can't break it. So my execution was flawless.
Now let's talk before we had some fancier. Oh, that's already.
Well, you know what's crazy about how many memes they make that out of? When I remember one, there was Aaron Rodgers started the season and got injured, and they used that for Aaron Rodgers. I saw one. It was money entering my bank account and leaving the bank account. There's so many. It's so applicable for anyway. It's
It. Let's talk about now Santino. Hey, you Miss Battle Royal winner, WrestleMania 25, right here. You won.
Yep.
Let's talk about that right there.
Well, it's funny because we never ever on television admitted that Santino was me dressed as a woman. We always said that it was my sister. And when Donald Trump, President of the United States, fired Santina, we did this thing where we locked the camera and we press pause and I run off, and then she runs on a second later. I had to go get dressed, take everything off, shower, kind of get dressed as Santino. But when you watch it back, it's instantaneous. She runs off and I run on, I just missed her. And it's funny how that little camera trick confused so many people. And but we never admitted on camera ever that it was me. So Santina technically is
Nobody knows.
a character. My twin sister that has high testosterone levels.
I love it.
But it was funny. So when we got to Houston for WrestleMania, I had to go buy clothes for Santina. So I think one of the seamstresses, she made the skirt. But I had to go to a mall. I had to buy clothes. So I bought the pink Converse, some fishnets. Now, some big women in Texas, so it wasn't difficult finding clothes that fit. Put it that way. But the bra was embarrassing. I had to buy the bra, and I don't know what the people in the store were thinking, but anyway, I got everything, and so what I did was I took the fishnet stockings. And I cut the feet off, and then I kind of cut the crotch out basically. So I put it on with my sleeves, so it was it became a shirt, like a crop top.
Like a Jeff Hardy type of thing?
Yeah. And I think I still have that somewhere at home, but yeah, the wig obviously. And
Iconic one.
and the belt, Hot Topic. I got the belt. Black and pink checkers.
I love it. I gotta say, you're so known for breaking wrestlers' characters. Was that a goal of yours? John Cena couldn't handle near you. Every time you broke his character. Was that a goal of yours to just break other people's character?
Not in the beginning, but later it was fun. But the only problem is, if it's a character that can't break character because they're serious, and you make them break, you have to redo it. So you're kind of just shooting yourself in the foot if you want to get something done. But if it's live on TV, then you can have fun. And you can see sometimes when you're staring at each other in the eyes and the mouth starts twitching a bit. Yeah.
It's funny nowadays too, because guys, you don't notice with Sami Zayn, remember Jey Uso couldn't hold it, Jimmy Uso couldn't hold it, they couldn't hold it. But yours on a different level. Guys, his is on a different level, obviously. How about Cena? When it came to that one clip with Cena, he just couldn't hold it in. How was that?
Yeah, he well, it came to it was to the point where in a meeting, Vince had to say to everybody, like the whole locker room, if you crack, it's okay because it's funny. Like you shouldn't be, immune to comedy, or he's being funny. So if you do laugh, just kind of gather yourself and keep going. So it was kind of like we developed the characters. It was almost like fail-proof because if I screwed up something, because I would screw up things on purpose often, but what the brilliant part was if I screwed up something by accident, people thought I was doing it on purpose anyway. So it was like I couldn't mess up. So then I realized I started doing this thing where I would fail at something, and then the audience wants to see you successfully do it. So then I would fail at something else, and throughout the match, I would fail at like 2 or 3 things, and at the end of the match, I would successfully do all 3 things in succession. And the audience, it was like a cheat code and I'd even start off, I'd come in the ring, I'd stand up to go in the ring, and I'd slip on the buckle and just catch, fall on my stomach. And I'd pretend like I was mortified. So the people think, oh my God, this guy just fell. He's embarrassed. Like he's really embarrassed. And then the people would start cheering, like, do it again, do it again. So then I go up and I do it successfully. And they're already cheering. The match didn't even start yet. And we already have them, cheering because I successfully stood on the second rope. And then, if I took a tackle, I remember Jack Swagger gave me a tackle, and I'd go to do like a nip up, and I'd fail it. Boom, I'd land on my head, and I'd be embarrassed. And he'd be like, you can't do that. And I'd be, yes, I can. And I'd do it again, and I'd fail it again, and I'd fail it again, and get up and kick the ropes, and I'd be upset, and I couldn't do it. And then I'd try and give him a body slam, and I hurt my back and all that stuff. So later in the match, when he was turned his back to me and was doing this, I'd try and do the nip up again, fail it one more time. He'd turn around and get on me, beat me up a little more. And then later, let's say he came running and I moved out of the way and he crashed into something and he fell. And all of a sudden I'd nip up successfully. And the audience would be like, yeah! And now I'm going right into my comeback. So we already have them elevated before I start doing the things that get them higher and higher and higher. And then I do the body slam successfully, and I do a bunch of things successfully that I failed earlier. And the way the applauses stacked on top of one another, when the match was over, it was like these crazy loud reactions, and it became so easy when you just apply psychology instead of moves, just moves.
Love it. Now I gotta say you said Jack Swagger right there. You defeated him for the U.S. title. We have one right there. How was that a moment for you winning the U.S. title?
Well, it was good because it was the first singles title that I won, and I was conscious. Because when I won the Intercontinental Championship the first time, I was unconscious. And then when Beth Phoenix beat Kofi and Mickey for both titles, I was unconscious. So I did win the tag team championships with a Cobra. But that's why I said it's my first singles title that I won. Being conscious. And it was good because, again, there's peaks and valleys, and after the tag team championships, sometimes a year went by, a couple of years without a title. So it was also the last title I had before my neck surgery. And that was around the time that everything happened. The Elimination Chamber.
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about that.
The Rumble, where I came second. And, at that time, I was on a lunchbox it was just me, CM Punk, and Cena.
How did I do it? John Cena.
And so the perception was I was becoming at that level, winning that title, and it was in the Scooby-Doo cartoon at the time, and it was only really kind of top guys. And so if it wasn't for the neck issue, the next few years could have been really good. I was kind of cementing myself as I don't want to say top guy, but a fixture in the program,
Yeah. Now let's talk about, you said Elimination Chamber. You, Daniel Bryan, that pop when you rolled them up, 1, 2. I got goosebumps. I was watching that last night. The pop was just crazy. Let's talk about that right there. The energy in that arena. It was TD, I believe, right?
Well, it was funny because I wasn't booked in the Elimination Chamber, and Randy got hurt. And because I was getting this momentum and all these reactions were like, let's throw Santino in there. So I was a last-minute replacement. And I was always afraid of those types of matches where there's like a lot of chapters to remember. There's a lot of things. Different guys are coming out of the pods, and I never really blanked out and forgot anything. But that was always something I was afraid of, like a nightmare. Like I didn't want to trip up the stairs or something. I always used to be worried about tripping up the stairs. I don't know why. But yeah, and then not only was I in the match, I was going to be the last guy to get pinned. And if you look at the guys in the match, there's like Big Show and Wade Barrett and a lot of big guys.
Heavy hitters, yeah.
But maybe no, not Randy. Cody was in there, and I was the one that was pinning them all. And I think that was kind of leading people to believe that this is my moment. And then there's only a few guys in the locker room I'm bigger than, and it's Rey Mysterio and Daniel Bryan. And I think that was it. Maybe TJ Wilson or a couple other guys, but I'm one of the smaller guys. So when they see me and a guy that's smaller than me, even though he was the champion at the time, I think it allowed people to go, oh man, if he's going to beat anybody, this is the time he can do it. Yeah. He's big. He's even bigger than this. So visually, it looked believable. And then the match, the way the match was going, it was very believable. I was focused on the match at the time. Obviously, I knew they were there for it. And I remember I came through the curtain, and Cena was like, he said, I know what I'm capable of, and I will not be able to get them that loud tonight. That was incredible. And I was like, yeah, was it? It really was. I had to watch it back. But there was a lot of things, moving out of the way. And Rip Rogers, 101, move out of the way. And moving out of the way has always been one of my not my best moves, but something I'd always used to turn the tide. Because when you move out of the way, you're still an underdog. You haven't done anything offensive. And you want to be an underdog till the very end. And if you can maintain that underdog status and then get it at the end, the reaction is going to be bigger. If you just fire up and you're not hurt anymore, the sympathy kind of comes down because you're doing good. You're strong. But when you're just barely getting out of the way and you're just desperation move after desperation move, the sympathy is sustained. And so anyway, I did that, and then and at that point, nobody had ever kicked out of the Cobra with the sleeve on. So when I put it on, it was a foregone conclusion. That's it. He just won. So the roll up was good. The Cobra was like next level.
Perfection.
And then when he put so I thought, honestly, there's a chance that they're going to call it audible. So I was trying to buy time and Mike Chioda was telling me in the gorilla position, he goes, I kept looking at Vince because I thought because Vince was going, oh, this is awesome, this is great. and I thought he was going to grab the mic and go, change the finish, Santino over.
No way.
I thought, honestly, and Mike Chioda goes, I swear it was like seconds away, So when he put the lock on, you don't talk to the person with regards to how fast I'm going to tap or what I'm going to do. So he had it on, and I slowly grabbed the hands and started pulling it down. And that was when the audience went ballistic. Yeah. When they go, oh shit, he's going to get out, he's going to get out. And I started getting to my knees. And then he put it back on. But this is prior to my neck surgery. So when he put it back on and gave it a little extra pull, that was a real tap, man. My bones were right on my spinal cord, and I couldn't hold on anymore. But
you gave me good memories, that's for sure.
I had to tap for real. But if I had I don't know, man. If I did it maybe 2 times, it could have been. It could have been. We were 1 count away from becoming world heavyweight champion, and then becoming the what do you call it when you have all of them? Grand Slam champion, yeah.
Hey, but you're still one of the best to ever come out of this country, guys. Give it up for Santino. Come on.
Thank you.
Now, I got to say, it was Rumble 2011. It was that year was the 40-man Royal Rumble when and you came out number 37. Yeah. I remember you just went right out of the apron. And then Alberto he thought he won. Remember Alberto thought he won? Then you just came right out. Let's talk about that moment there. That was hilarious and just great at the same time. A little H2O action there if you want.
Oh, thank you.
Give it up for H2O again, guys.
Thank you. Yeah, it was, again, it was around the same time, we were capitalizing on the momentum. And I didn't realize I came out 37. That's actually pretty funny.
Did my Nardwar research last
Easy
night.
day's work. I calculated to go back to the other Rumble when I was eliminated in 1 second. I forget what I calculated. I was getting paid like $500,000 an hour. But I only worked for 1 second, so it wasn't that much. No, this was cool, and it's funny because again, the way we did it, even my own brother thought, he goes, "I thought you were gonna win, man." And some people, like for me, it's a bit of a tell when you hit the Cobra and you kind of dance around and buy some time. In your head, you're like, "He's gonna recover, he's gonna recover," and then at the last second, he did the reversal and threw me out. But when I go to conventions and stuff, and I talk to people from all over the world, they're like, "Man, we thought you were going to main event WrestleMania that year," and he goes, and we looked at each other and we go, "I'm good with that. Okay, I can. This will be a good Mania." Like it wasn't like when the Miz was in the main event of WrestleMania. A lot of people didn't like it for some reason. I mean, he worked really hard, and I think he deserved it. But I didn't want to be that kind of thing where like, "Oh, this is bullshit. He's a comedy guy. He shouldn't be in the main event." But people were okay with it, and I think it would have been. Yeah, he got heat, but people were pissed, and I think he fought Edge, right, at that Mania.
So yeah, he had a good run as well. He had a run.
So we got him, and there's something I always thought there was something romantic about always leaving the audience in like a constant state of just hoping they got a little more. But they're like, we just wanted him to win. Like we just wanted him to get that. We just wanted that. And to leave them in that state of always wanting that, it kind of leaves the door open to come back and be able to give that one day. There's always a chance for a miracle. And on a personal note, like in my 40s, my health was not good. Like my back, when I was coming back from my neck surgery, my back got really bad. And, torn labrum and this and that. And my back is still bad, but I've been really focusing on my wellness and did some stem cells in 2020. I did some more this year, a lot of physiotherapy. I do everything, man. I lay on the PEMF mats, red light therapy, yoga. I drink hydrogen water and
take notes, guys.
Anti-inflammatory diet. Really hang upside down a couple times a week. You have to strengthen like certain muscles to protect your back and your core and everything. So I address it like I do everything. It's like my full-time job is just staying above water with regards to back pain. I started doing jiu-jitsu last year, I guess, 3 times a week, competed for the first time. And I must say, I just got the stem cells in October and they're supposed to take like 4 months to really kick in. So I'm kind of entering the 4th month and man, like it's weird when you deal with pain, you don't feel that there's no pain. It's just the absence of pain. So all of a sudden you're like, I kind of haven't been in pain for about a few weeks. And you know what I mean? You can't feel the lack of something. And all of a sudden I'm like, tying my shoes. And I'm like, oh man, there's no pain, So I feel pretty good, man. I'm actually heading off to Italy next week. I'm going to have a little match and test out the back. I took a bump last week on TNA and felt good. So it's funny. I got the right team around me with regards to trainers, and I eat properly now for the first time. For the last couple of years, I weigh my food out, get the right macros. So I'm in much better shape right now. I'm 50 years old than I was throughout all my 40s. And when I was in my 40s, I operated a gym. That's the irony, because Battle Arts Academy was basically, I started it when I was 39 or 40. Yeah, 39. And but I couldn't train there as much because I was working and running and running the gym and doing everything. But now that we moved up north in 2020, close to Wasaga Beach area, and we just focus on our health and wellness, and it's paying dividends, man. I feel amazing.
You're right, because at the end of the day, the most important thing is your health.
Without health, who wants to die with millions of dollars in the bank, right? You got to spend that on your health. It's all about quality of life.
Exactly. Now I got to say, you said 2014. It was in Toronto here where you announced your retirement. Then you came back 2020. Let's talk about that Rumble when you came back.
Oh yeah, so it's funny. I actually didn't announce my retirement. It was interesting. So it was I had to have another surgery, I think, or maybe it was my first surgery. But I wanted to speak. It was in Toronto. It was in the Ricoh Coliseum, and I said, "Can I speak to the audience?" Yes. And I wanted to speak with my real voice, but they still wanted me in character. And I just said, "I'm about to have neck surgery. I don't know if I can come back. We'll see. I'll try my best." I said, "But if I don't come back, there's only one thing I always wanted people to know is that I'm from Canada." I get choked up sometimes because I grew up here and I fucking love this place, man. Yeah, I love it. Growing up in the GTA in the 80s and 90s, it was paradise. We grew up in paradise. And I was always so proud to be Canadian. And the fact that Santino Marella is from Italy, and I just wanted Canadians to know I'm one of you guys. I'm fucking Canadian, man. Excuse my language.
Love it.
And I just wanted the audience to know that I'm Canadian, So I just announced that. Because I said, if this is my last chance to stand in front of you guys, I just want you guys to know that I'm really goddamn Canadian, And thanks. That's before fucking shifter brains fucked it all up, Trudeau, idiot. Anyway, don't get me started there.
You have the old heads there, guy. Yeah.
And then, so people saw that promo and they took it as me announcing my retirement, but it wasn't really my retirement. I just said, I'm not sure. And because when I used to fight for judo, to have CAN on my back was everything, man. It was everything. So representing Canada, not just letting you know I'm from Canada. I represented Canada at, international competition. So, thank you. Because you had to earn that. You had to earn that CAN on the back, Number 2 doesn't get it, man. Only number 1 gets that. So just having that means that you're a champion, right? And then, so I had my surgery, and then I did like a 1-month checkup. And the doctor's like, how you feel? I said, okay. He goes, man, one of your screws is coming out. And literally, the doctor called me and told me I had a screw loose. And I started laughing, but he's like, it's not funny.
I don't want to laugh.
One of your screws is coming out. And he said, if you ever experience like a really a quick onset of strep throat, that's the feeling. You have to call us right away. Because if one of your screws turns and punctures one of your, whether it's your esophagus or trachea or whatever it is, from the back, because you'll be in the hospital for 6 months eating out of tubes. It's bad, really bad. And sure enough, man, we were at Tribute to the Troops in Virginia, and I was in the car with Sandow, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, my throat's getting sore. I'm like, oh God. And then like within half an hour, it was really sore. And I said, shit, this is what he was talking about. And I called them right away. And I said, yeah, my throat's really sore. And they said, okay. They flew me the next day back to Pittsburgh, and they cut it again, and they took out the titanium. And I didn't know, it had been 3 months post the first surgery. And if enough fusion hadn't taken place, I was going to be in a collar for a while. And they took out the titanium. I had 2 levels fused too, so there were 6 screws. And out of the 6 screws, 2 came out. One was completely out, one was just about out. So I don't know if he over tightened them or what. God, that's not IKEA furniture, man. It's my neck, And but going in on the scar, the second time, it was not good, man. It was not good. So I tried to get better, and it took years. It wasn't getting better, and I had to call the office. I should have kept quiet because they were paying me to stay home and heal. But I said, hey, man, I'll be honest with you. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get in the ring. And I was wanting to transition to a non-physical role, and general manager type thing or something, whatever. And they were thinking about it. And then I came back to one of the
2020 Rumble.
No, before that I came back to the Slammy Awards, and I'm like, I'm back, and then I was gone again. And so since then I bought something called an Iron Neck. It's a machine. It's like a head harness, and you rotate and turn and do all the different directions. And I do it, religiously, at least 2-3 times a week. And over time, your neck gets strong. And whiplash and stuff like that. So I still do it, and it's not going to get back to perfect, but it's, again, quality of life, and I'm comfortable, and I can take a bump here and there. I'm not going to do crazy stuff, but I can get in there and I can have matches. And I'm pretty cautious when I'm putting together a match that I'm going to be in. And they're often tag team matches, so I can don't get too crazy. But I can wrestle once every couple months. I take bookings based on a nice destination.
Destination Destiny. Oh, see what I did there?
Yeah, sometimes there's a match in Italy. I go, I'll go to Italy. Hell yeah. And there's one I'm trying to get booked in Singapore just for these paid vacations. I like going to Europe and stuff, so I'll take matches over there. But last year, I wrestled in Japan for Bloodsport against Sakuraba, which was actually one of the probably one of my favorite matches in my whole career. Was last
GCW,
year,
right? GCW, I believe.
It was Bloodsport.
Yeah, Bloodsport. Yeah.
Yeah, in the sumo hall. So to have one of your favorite matches in your whole career at the age of 50, it's crazy, right? And I got a really good chiropractor up in Midland, actually, and he's assessing my body. He's not just a chiropractor; kind of checks your energy channels, and he's like a shaman, he's an osteopath. And he goes, man, because what I'm reading, he goes, there's no reason you shouldn't have this secondary peak right now, this time of your life. Everything's lining up. And I'm like, yeah, because I feel freaking good, man. Like I feel, man, I'm not, I can't do backflips, but I can do front flips. No, I feel really good. So I never intended on ever kind of considering having a wrestling career again, like the actual wrestling side. But after speaking with management last week at TNA, and they're like, man, you're moving really good, and you're having these matches, you want to wrestle? And I was like, I want to wrestle with my daughter, not against her, but with her. And they go, yeah, we're thinking that at the very least, but also feel like a little run? And I was like, shit, all right, let's do it, man. Because, I said, I wrote it till the wheels fell off, and then I find out they can put the wheels back on. So let's do it again, man. So, yeah. So we'll see. This is going to be an interesting year. I'll get back in the ring at some point, and every time I do get in the ring, everyone's like, man, you haven't lost a step. So we'll see. We'll see if I can get in there and teach these young kids a thing or two.
Well, we're happy you're still here, and you look better than ever, guys, obviously. And
good barber, really good barber. So I don't know. I might go beat Cody Rhodes, man. What do you guys think about that? Hey, I'll kick his ass easy.
I get this now. You said TNA. Let's talk about the partnership, TNA and WWE.
Amazing.
Love it.
Yeah. So, Ariel Schnurr, our senior VP of Impact. And it's funny because everyone loves Scott D'Amore. I love Scott D'Amore. He's amazing. And when Scott left TNA, everyone was like, they automatically were kind of upset just because they're taking someone they love from them, And then all eyes were on Ariel and Anthony Ciccone about, well, what are these guys going to do? They're not wrestling guys. And man, these guys have been nothing short of awesome. Every move they make is great. Ariel is an interesting guy. He came out of Ryerson, I believe, and started with Fight Network, not in the mail room, but started at the bottom. Now he's here, and he's incredible. He just has excellent instinct. He knows a lot about wrestling, and he's been watching the whole time. He's been sitting in all those meetings with Scott for all those years, and he's also has that kind of that pedigree from the actual corporate side, and he's really. The stuff he's doing is incredible. I mean, you can see the houses. But when I got there, I've been in TNA for 2 years, and I was done. When I was done with WWE, I was done being Santino. I was done being on the road. I was done. I just wanted to be me again, Stay home. Threw my luggage in the closet, and I was like, I want to look at that right now, because I was on the road for 8 years nonstop. And it was 300 days a year at some point because of the European tours and everything. And I was with the company for 10, but it was 8 nonstop. And so I was kind of done. I was over it. And then I'm at home, running Battle Arts. And then COVID comes, and all of a sudden you're kind of stuck at home. And when you're stuck, it makes you I guess, appreciate the fact that the freedom of being on the road, right? And timing was right. I mean, Scott asked me a couple times to potentially come to Impact, and it wasn't the time. I was busy. I was running stuff, and I was doing the show on Aftermath, and that was a WWE, partnership with Sportsnet, and I didn't know how I was going to do both. And then the last time, he said, "What do you think?" And I'm like, you know what? You feel it sometimes in your gut. I'm like, the timing is right now. And I'm like, let's do it. And I remember I had to tell my wife, and when I'm, going to go back on the road, it's lighter schedule, because I have 2 young ones as well, and I don't want to miss that, right? It's a blink of an eye for those that have kids, And so this schedule was perfect. And I get there, and I had to meet a whole new locker room of guys that have been in the industry as long as me, like guys like Eric Young and Kazarian, Eddie Edwards. Like, these guys are like long lost brothers that I didn't even know I had. I had to get to know this whole new locker room, and quickly fell in love again with performing, producing television, being on the road, having breakfast at Waffle House with the boys, just that camaraderie. And this particular company has an excellent locker room. I mean, it's super tight. The guys, it's a family in there, And anyway, it totally rekindled my love for professional wrestling. And I love going to work. Like, I was always appreciative and very grateful for my time in WWE. But I wasn't doing this like, oh, I'm going to work again. But now with TNA, I love it. Driving to the airport, it's like I'm already in a good mood. We're gonna. And something about being the underdog, maybe, not being that massive with a $1 billion company with all those millions of dollars behind you. They, try to make stuff happen on a bit of a budget. But the hunger from the young talent, oh my God, it's contagious. Everyone takes it so serious. They don't take themselves serious. They take their level of work serious. And you can tell they go home and they don't stop. They're thinking about stuff at home, and they're brainstorming, and they're running ideas by people, and they're just so inspired and motivated that it rubs off on you, And I love it. I absolutely love going to work. And now getting to work with my daughter, it's crazy. Like, every time I talk about my daughter, it's like my emotional trigger, because it was very hard for us,
Something special for sure.
Yeah, because wrestling took me away from her, and it was hard for her too. So to kind of play catch up a little bit, and now I go to work, and it brings me to her. It's beyond anything I ever could have hoped for or imagined. I tell people I've traveled around the world, and at this time in my life, it's probably the greatest time in my whole life. Is right now at 50 years old. It's nuts. It's crazy, man. Of all the different things I've done, I can confidently say this is the happiest time in my life.
Amazing. Now I got to say, let's get into questions that the fans love to hear. Give it up, guys. That story right there. And you know what? Before we even say anything right now, Emilio, call him in 1 second. Right, this guy right here, this past week, he said that he's gonna shove a cannoli up your you-know-what. Look, he's right there, guys. That's Ashby Elegance, his manager. The Iceman right there. What do you gotta say to him? Give him your accent right there. Give it to him.
You son of a gun.
I love it. Now I gotta say, now back to the question the fans love to hear.
Hold on, did you actually bring me a cannoli?
Or what?
Watch.
I gotta say though, past and present, dream match for you, who would it be?
Oh, wow. Dream match. Probably my boy Randy, man. Yeah. My first 3 years on the road, it was me and Randy Orton, and it was interesting because it was a transitional period for him, going from the stories you hear about crazy Randy to father Randy and more responsible Randy. So, wasn't completely responsible for it, but I was a positive influence in his life, and he's an awesome guy, man. If he's your friend, he has your back. He's the kind of guy that if you're not there, someone says something, like, he's standing up for you. He's a really good guy. And but when I got there, he was already arguably the greatest in the world to this day. And I was just, starting off. So we didn't have a chance to wrestle. But anytime we were in like a battle royal or something, I'd always find him, I'd mess with him a little bit. Randy.
Now, how about this now? Mount Rushmore. Give it to us.
Oh, man. The Mount Rushmore is like a trick question, and I'll tell you why. Because there's like 8 people that are supposed to go on it.
Let's add 4 more.
Yeah, well, no, yeah. Because, no, I mean, if you pick 4, it means you're cutting off 4 that should be there too.
Exactly, yeah.
And, there's like Bruno Sammartino, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, and I'm already going to miss out on so many. So Bruno, Hogan, Flair, and maybe Andre, right? And then there's Brett, and there's Shawn, and there's Taker. It's hard, right? Stone Cold, The Rock. Man, it's to narrow it down to 4. It's not, and then Cena. Oh God.
Yeah, Cena.
Yeah, there's like 12 guys on it.
Modern day.
But it's really hard. But I'll go with the old school guys. Hulk Hogan has to be on there for sure. What's that? Ray?
Yeah.
Ray. Ray has been. So it's funny. Ray and I are the same age, but we're not the same age in wrestling years. So I started at for example, I debuted at 33 on Raw. And Ray had been wrestling for 17 years already. So he's like a senior to me in wrestling, but not in life, you know what I mean? Same with Edge. Edge is the same age too. We're all born in 1974. And when I got there, he's like, how old are you, man? I was at 33. He's like, you're already old. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I got a little delayed. Sorry. But he started, he was like 18 years old or something when he started too. Or he was in high school maybe. So I started later, but I caught up to them.
I gotta say, now, you know what? We could even start petition here, induct you into the Hall of Fame. I think it's gonna come to a point where your accolades don't lie, your stats, all the stuff you've done, you give us memories to last a lifetime. What is your take on that? Do you believe yourself that you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame?
Well, man, a lot of people tell me that, to be honest, and they say it's just a matter of time and stuff. If the day comes, it'll be incredible. I tell my daughter sometimes, I'm like, it's up to you, man. You got to get over. So the more over you get, then they'll induct me sooner. So no, but you know what? If it ever happens, I just, my kids will see it and it'll be pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, that would be the icing on the cake, man. It's already been, and because I got signed at 32, and because I was 5'10", I was already conscious of the fact that I'm already, at the time they weren't looking for guys. They were looking like minimum 6'2". They wanted guys to be 24. Remember Alex Riley and Johnny Curtis? They were looking those guys, models, jacked. I wasn't that, So I already knew that I was defying the odds. So if you're conscious of the fact that you're defying the odds, you got to be grateful, And there was this mentality in the locker room at the time, not to be complacent, to strive for the top. If you're not striving for the top, you shouldn't be here, blah, blah, blah. And I secured my position as the comedic component of the show. And I wasn't complacent, I was grateful. It's a different story. Some guys were pissed because, I'm not getting the title. I'm like, dude, we travel the world and wrestle for a living. How the hell are you in a bad mood? It always blew my mind. So I was always, and when I was later in my career, I had producers come up to me and say, hey man, you know what? I just want to thank you because you were always in a positive state of mind. You were always so easy to work with. You never had an attitude problem. And my daughter now is that person. She's a positive force in the performance center. And when I go there, the coaches have nothing but good things to say about her in terms of her work ethic, her mindset, and that's what it is. Because there's guys that had careers, and they look back on it negatively because they didn't. All they focused on was the discrepancy between where they wanted to be and where they were. Instead of focusing on where they were, they only looked at the difference between where they wanted to be. And if you look at it that way, you're going to be in a perpetual state of frustration because not everyone gets to be the champ. Imagine you're an actor and you get roles for movies, but you never get the lead role, so you hate your acting career. It makes no sense. You have to be grateful, man. And if you're grateful, truly grateful Don't just lie to yourself. Oh, I'm grateful. No, really be grateful. Like wake up every morning and say, oh my God, I can't believe this is my life, you know? And when you're like that, the good things keep coming. They just keep coming. I don't know what the force of nature is, but the more grateful you are, the more blessings fall upon you. 100%, man. 100%.
Couldn't have said that better, guys. Now, I'm going to say, last question on my part. When it's all said and done, what do you want the fans to remember Santino as?
I think because I came from the audience, you know, I kind of want to consider myself like the people's champ kind of thing because, you know, when I see people, I know that's The Rock, right? Yeah.
Santino's today anyway.
He's not the people's champ. I'm the people's champ.
That's it.
Because when you're 6'4", 275 pounds, and you know you're a billionaire, he's not like the people anymore.
No.
Like he's not. You know, he was a superstar from day one, but you know, I'm literally one of the people because I look like an average guy, and I would see people in malls, and they would say hi to me like I was a friend from like high school, and they wouldn't be like, oh my God, they'd be, oh my God, it's Randy Orton. They go, hey, what's up, Santino? Like I work with the guy, you know, and I like that. I like being one of the people because I came out of the audience and I was one of the people. And so I don't know how to summarize it exactly, but I'd like to be an example of what people can achieve, of what like the average person can achieve if they work hard, you know?
Couldn't have said better. It's an absolute honor.
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to say, guys, give it up for Anthony right here, Santino Marella. Now, as you all know, that this show is all about the fans, guys, so I'm going to give 3 people a chance to ask questions. And yeah, shoot ahead. Let's go right there.
Okay, so you mentioned that your daughter, Ariana Grace, is not in the Rumble this year, but let's say next year, if she's in the Rumble, if WWE called Santina to appear in the Rumble and eliminate Ariana Grace, would Santina take the call?
Oh, man, you know what? I might have to say no on that. I want to go back to the Rumble as Santino, not Santina. In 2020, they called me, and I thought I was going to be me, and then they broke it to me at the end. No, they want you to be. First, they said we want you to appear in the Rumble twice, Santino and Santina. I said, oh, that's cool. And then I got there, and they're like, yeah, it's just Santina. I was like, oh, come on, man. Because I'll tell you why. When a lot of characters dress in drag, it's generally the end of the character. They're trying to squeeze out the last bit of entertainment. A lot of people don't come back from that, to be honest. And luckily I came back and we transitioned back.
Yeah. It's 2025,
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, I transitioned back and me again. But I do want to appear on the same Rumble as my daughter, but in the men's match, and she's in the women's match. That'll be historic in itself because I don't think father and daughter have ever appeared on the same Rumble card. So that's something I'd like to achieve, is to be on the same Rumble or same WrestleMania or whatever as my daughter. If we could, oh God, I'll put it out there into the universe. If we could ever do a mixed tag in WrestleMania, father-daughter.
What if it happens in TNA?
Oh, what?
If it's a TNA thing, why not?
Well, TNA, I think we're planning to do something like that. But of course, you know, WWE did build the character, and they actually own the rights to it again. So, but I'm trying to think of another father-daughter combo. Ava and The Rock, maybe. Who knows? Who knows?
You never know.
The winner is the people's champ.
Now, Duro right there.
Back in the days when we used to go nightclubbing, there was a huge. No, I'm going to bring this in. There was a Greek and Italian influence on Euro, and we were the nightclub capital of North America, really.
Yep.
And there was something called a Gino, which a lot of people don't know, but here you know exactly what a Gino is.
Yep.
Hey, bro, what's going on?
Yeah.
Lots of paparazzi, whatever. So, did you ever meet someone as a kid that went to paparazzi or palazzo that seeped into the character of Santino?
I used to work at paparazzi. Yeah.
So there you go. So was there any memories from back in the days of like, oh, I'm going to incorporate?
Well, so it's funny. So I went to Philip Pocock High School in Mississauga. Now, my high school was, oh God, the percentage, it's like 80% first generation Canadians. So it was a Catholic school, so Portuguese, Italian, Croatian, Polish, Maltese. The majority, and mostly Italian, to be honest. So all our parents were from other countries. Like my next door neighbor is son of a gun Ivan. I borrowed that. I got that from my next door neighbor. He's Croatian. Across the street, the Tavares family, you know, like John Tavares from the Leafs, his grandfather. And, you know, everybody butchered the language. Spiros was my neighbor, right? My whole street was very multicultural and all first generation. So yeah, a lot of it is a mishmash of most of my friends' parents, Slovenian, Greek, everything.
Right through Umaga shirt.
So one comment for my question: when I was a big Aftermath fan as a kid, and when you first appeared, like that kind of crushed a lot of the illusion for wrestling. I was excited, but like it really threw me for a loop. So I've always been a fan, and so the question is: do you think Vince is ever excited to have another really successful comedy wrestler since like Kurt Angle and the Invasion was really popular? Obviously Stone Cold and maybe Piper to an extent. Like, do you think ever use like a cool pet project that you got over as big as you did?
Yeah, so the character Santino personally made Vince laugh.
Yeah.
And before, if you book somebody a certain way, they'll get over with the audience eventually, right? But in the beginning, it was tickling Vince's funny bone. He thought the character was funny, and that's how he got legs originally. The original, you know, incarnation of Santino was not supposed to be comedy. He was supposed to be this young, fiery baby face that fought from underneath. But as you know, WWE fans do not like to be force-fed. And I showed up there from the audience, and then 2 weeks later, I beat Chris Masters, and I beat Shelton Benjamin, and I rolled up somebody else. And they're like, "Oh, come on, man! Don't tell us this guy." Like, and they rejected that version of the character. And then when Umaga won the title back, I think it was like Roman gladiators. Like they're all going like, "Kill him," you know. And they wanted to. He's spiking me actually, and actually separated my shoulder at a live event too. And then I turned bad. And when I got the microphone as a bad guy, it was immediately funny to him. And that was when it took off right there.
Now I got one guy back there, and he keeps jumping up and down. He's asking a question. Go ahead, go ask your question.
I got a question for you. Is there a particular venue somewhere in the world that you haven't worked that you'd like to work?
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, we often did the Arena Mexico is a famous one. The O2 Arena in England is a big one. We did you know what? Maybe there's a Coliseum type event, you know, if they could ever do a show in the Coliseum, that'd be pretty cool. There is a Coliseum in southern France. It's a type of Coliseum that WWE did, and I wasn't on that show. So some of those ancient structures would be really cool to do.
Would you ever want to perform at the Maple Leaf Gardens?
Oh gosh, yeah, of course, yes. I was thinking internationally, but right here at home, when I would go with my family, was Maple Leaf Gardens, you know, and take the streetcar and cheer on. I remember one time, it was during the match, it was quiet, and I started the Hogan chant, and it caught on our section, and it caught on, and the whole arena started doing it. And my brother looked at me and goes, "You started that one!" And I got the whole Maple Leaf Gardens chanting Hogan, and that was that was awesome. I would love to work Maple Leaf Gardens. Yes.
Now, last question right there.
All right, my question is, who's like a person that you were surprised that they were a fan of?
Oh, yeah, Shaquille O'Neal. And he's like, "Yo, Santino!" And I'm like, "Oh my God, you know who I am?" And then he gave me a hug, and I thought someone turned off the lights. He just he's so big, he just engulfed me. And I was like, I felt like a child. He's a gentle giant, actually. He's an awesome guy. But yeah, he's like a fan of mine. It's almost like, you know, you're like bashful, like, "You know me?" Well, I'm in no rush for time. We had more questions.
Okay, go ahead.
So what was your best moment you had in WWE?
The best moment? Oh, wow.
You have lots of best moments in WWE.
Sometimes the best moments are not captured on TV. It's from live events. I remember I had a match with Kofi Kingston in Paris one time, and I was a bad guy. And this is when Italy had just beat France in the World Cup finals. And I remember Zidane, the
headbutt?
captain, the headbutt. So I was doing this song going, Merci Zidane, Zidane in France, and they were going crazy. They were throwing shit in the ring, and I was, oh damn, it was almost like a riot. It was the closest I got to a riot. And then later in the match, when Kofi hit me with something, it was like 1, 2, and I grabbed the rope. And I remember the 1, 2, oh, and that feeling was just like, wow, man. You're like a maestro, you know? You made the whole audience do what you wanted to do at that time. That stands out as one. But it's interesting, the way arenas are designed, all the seats are facing the middle, and all the attention it converges on the center point, which is the ring. So the first time ever that I debuted, and you hear that roar from the audience, that energy is not just sound, it's physical. And I remember feeling like my body was supercharged, full of this kinetic energy or telekinetic energy that everybody gave me with their cheer, with their attention, with their focus. And I swear, like, if there was a way to look under a microscope, I swear I felt like my cells were different from that point in my life moving forward. You're so supercharged with energy that you exist differently, so to speak. It was crazy.
Go ahead.
Like, do you have like a favorite promo? Like mine personally is like the Tea Party with Sheamus.
Yeah. The Tea Party was really interesting because that was actually my longest segment I ever had on Raw. It was 18 minutes. And generally when you're the comedy guy and you are, in between two serious storylines to, cleanse the palate, so to speak, I could get my job done in 3 minutes. I didn't need 15 minutes to make people laugh and give them a little underdog, good guy moment. So sometimes I'd have like a 7-minute segment and they'll go, oh, the match before you went over, you got 5 minutes, and damn it, with the entrances, it's like a 3-minute match, So that, I had a lot of those types of quick matches, but that was like 18 minutes. And it was the number one, rated segment of the entire Raw program. So it was a proud moment, And then the next week I wasn't even on TV.
You know what I gotta ask is, remember the time when you were rapping?
There's been lots of times.
That was one of my favorites that sticks out to the best.
Oh, with the Acorn one?
No, you were rapping, like Cena was in the ring, Beth Phoenix was beside you, you put your hat sideways.
Yeah, that was the Acorn one. Yeah. I didn't write that rap, but it was a good rap. That was Brian Gewirtz wrote that one. It was pretty good.
Do you remember it right now?
Because I'm from Europe. I like my pancakes with maple syrup. I remember that. Yes.
Love it.
Okay, my question is, what's the feeling that you have when you walk through the curtains from Gorilla and hear your music?
So it's interesting too, because when you're doing live TV, I remember the first time I'm like, man, when I'm walking out, this is live. Like it's 6 million households around the world are going to be watching you in real time. That's a little more trippy than coming out to like a taped SmackDown type thing. But it's funny, man, when that music hits, so often if I get nervous, like, I'll tell you, I have to go pee sometimes, right? if I'm in Gorilla, I'm nervous, I gotta go to the bathroom, like, oh my God. But when the music hits, it's gone. Your sore shoulder, it's gone. Your sore ankle, it's gone. When the music hits, it's showtime, it's go time. The energy from the crowd makes every little nagging injury go away. And usually you're warmed up, right? You want to warm up for your match so you don't get hurt and stuff. But everything converges at that time. Like you're perfectly warmed up, you're ready to go, you know what you're doing, you got everything ready to go. It's like the tip of the iceberg, right? A 10-minute match takes hours throughout the day to put together, to get dressed, to get whatever, if you're putting makeup or costume, to go over the match, make sure you got it, to warm up and everything. So all that preparation, Randy Orton's an excellent example. That guy warms up for like 2 hours for like a 15-minute match or whatever it is. He's meticulous because he doesn't want to get injured and he knows he has to preserve his body and stuff. So everything builds up, and then the music hits and it's showtime, Showtime is an interesting phenomenon when you get out there. And I even heard, I think it was Triple H or Undertaker talking about same thing, like back pain, knee pain, hip pain, but when the music hits, no pain. It's great. It's really interesting.
Stevie, right there.
How does it feel to get your first figure, to see your figure on the shelves for the first time?
Yeah, so there's a few things. The first action figure is a big one. Your first T-shirt is cool. I think mine was the blue one. And the first time you're in a video game. Those three are pretty cool, man. And yeah, the first action figure, I think my parents have it somewhere stored away.
The second part is, how does it feel seeing someone wearing a shirt of yours walking down the street or anywhere?
Yeah, no, it's cool because because there's so many shirts, right? And if you go to the merchant stand, so the fact that someone chose your shirt, and you got to pay for that. Someone chose to pay money for something that represents you. It's a good feeling, and I always feel thankful. But merchandise is interesting because there's shirts that I thought were so funny nobody bought, and then there's shirts that I thought were okay that, like the Ferrari shirt I had, that one was like, I'd see like a lot of those in the audience, and the first couple shirts, and then I had one where I was wearing like a Adidas tracksuit with nunchucks, and I thought that was brilliant, but that one didn't sell very well. And then the one that had like a black belt on the shirt, it looked like a judo thing on the front. I thought those were gonna fly off the shelves, but maybe not so much.
Guys, one more right there. Yeah, go ahead.
What's your most memorable fan experience?
Oh, memorable fan experience. Well, there was this one rat that I'm kidding. No, I'll tell you a funny one. I got pickpocketed by this guy in Italy, and it was such a perfect execution. I had a lot of respect for him as a pickpocket. So after the match, I take the Cobra off. I always put it back in my singlet, and it's memorable. It's not a positive memory, but it's a memory. And I went to the audience and I went, high five, high five. And he went for it. He just went, and I was like, oh, what? And by the time I looked at him, he was already fading like 2 or 3 people back. And I'm like, I'm not gonna jump the barricade for a Cobra, but I was looking at him like, well done, sir. Well done. Yeah, perfectly executed.
Guys, that's it. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Give it up for Santino Marella, guys.